Motorcycles, cars, music, three things that I grew up in, and I'm blessed enough to be able to continue.
Danny Coker's show, Counting Cars, once had it all. From roaring engines to jaw-dropping customs and a team that felt like family. For years, Counting Cars felt less like a TV show and more like a window into a family. Fans came for the cars, but they stayed because of the people. However, behind the laughter and the roaring engines were real struggles, the kind that never made it to air. Some people had to walk away, while others were forced out, which led many to wonder what really happened behind the scenes. Were they just mechanics on a reality show, or were they ordinary people carrying extraordinary weight? Join us as we dive into their untold stories and uncover the heart that kept Count's Customs alive. Engines of Memory. Mike Henry, better known as Horny Mike, was the heartbeat of Counting Cars. He had a way of transforming simple vehicles into rolling art pieces, daring to add helmets, wild paint jobs, and touches that no one else would have even imagined. Some thought he went too far, but that was exactly what made him unforgettable. What viewers didn't always see, though, was that Mike carried his own struggles. By 2021, the endless grind began to take its toll. The deadlines piled up, the pressure mounted, and slowly, Mike started stepping back. It wasn't an easy decision, but eventually, he walked away. For good. Fans felt the absence immediately. His energy, his humor, and his bold creativity had been the glue holding the show together. Before Mike, though, there was another figure who helped define Counting Cars. Scott Jones may not have worn helmets or cracked jokes, but he kept the wheels turning with a firm hand. He was there at the beginning, managing projects, balancing budgets, and keeping everything organized. While others thrived in the spotlight, Scott worked behind it, steady and dependable. His efficiency earned him respect and made fans appreciate the discipline it took to run such a high-pressure shop. But television brought its own problems. Fans noticed the tension in Scott's face, the way laughter seemed rare. After 3 seasons, he quietly chose to walk away and forge his own path. His departure left a mark, not because of loud farewells, but because of what he represented. Scott proved that greatness doesn't always demand attention, and sometimes the strongest contributions are made by those who never seek the spotlight. Even now, his name is spoken with respect whenever the early days of Counting Cars are remembered. But what about the others who carried the same weight in silence, only to be forced away by battles they never asked for? What happened when their stories came to light? Shadows behind glory. Some of the most important names in Counting Cars were not the ones who grabbed headlines, but those who worked behind the scenes. For them, the show was more than entertainment. It was about loyalty, discipline, and holding everything together when chaos threatened to take over. Yet not everyone got to decide when to leave. Some were forced to step away, leaving behind both unfinished dreams and memories that fans still hold close. Kevin Mack played a key role behind the scenes at Count's Customs. As Danny Coker's cousin, he wasn't just part of the family. He was the one keeping the shop on track. While Danny focused on big ideas and creative builds, Kevin handled the day-to-day grind. He kept schedules tight, managed tough customers, and made sure the business ran smoothly. His connection with Danny influenced how he operated, always looking out for the shop and the people in it. In 2020, everything changed. Kevin suffered a stroke that affected his speech and motor skills, leading to a long stretch of rehab. Stepping away wasn't a choice. It was necessary. Even though he's no longer in the shop, his impact still lingers. He was the structure behind the chaos, and that kind of presence doesn't fade easily. Then there was Ryan Evans, instantly recognizable with his long ponytail and ever-present streaks of paint on his hands. If a car gleamed brighter than anyone thought possible, it was Ryan's artistry that had brought it to life. Flames curling across a hood, bold fades that shimmered in the sunlight, Ryan turned metal into moving art. His role as the lead painter wasn't just about making vehicles look sharp. It was about listening to the heart of every customer and giving them back a dream in chrome and color. If Ryan's energy lived in the paint, someone else had to be the driving force behind the engines once the cameras shifted to the shop floor. Engines of resilience. The work behind the scenes came with a price. Long hours, constant pressure, and the push for flawless results started to wear down Ryan over time. His appearances on screen gradually became less frequent, and the shift didn't go unnoticed. Off camera, his focus was changing. The demands of the shop were no longer the priority, replaced by time with family and attention to personal health. Eventually, those concerns led to a step back from the spotlight, a move that highlighted the reality behind the grind. Ryan Evans dealt with a level of pressure that built up over time. Each project pushed harder than the one before, and it started to show. The constant demand to deliver standout work took a toll, but his commitment never slipped. He wasn't just valued for his technical ability, he had a clear sense of what customers were really looking for. That understanding made him a key part of the operation. His calm, focused style left a lasting impression, and the vehicles he worked on still reflect that influence. Shannon Aikau was the go-to expert for custom motorcycles at Count's Customs. His focus was sharp, his precision unmatched, and every build reflected that. Instead of getting caught up in shop drama or chasing numbers, he stayed locked in on the work, refining every detail until the bike felt complete. The hours were long and the effort intense. Over time, that grind took a toll, not just physically, but mentally. Still, Shannon kept pushing, driven by the need to get every project exactly right. Shannon Aikau kept things steady at Count's Customs. He didn't talk much about the hard parts, but he was always there when the pressure hit. No drama, no spotlight, just consistent work and results. His bikes had a distinct style, and people still talk about the builds he brought to life. In 2019, everything changed. What started as a normal day ended with a serious heart attack. Recovery wasn't quick, and stepping away from the shop wasn't easy. For someone used to constant movement, slowing down became its own kind of battle. And as viewers looked for the heart that kept Count's Customs alive through every setback, all eyes turned to Danny Coker. Wasn't he the one who held it all together? The Count's journey. Danny Coker, known as The Count, spent decades working with cars and motorcycles, turning old machines into custom builds. His interest in restoration started early, long before Count's Customs became a well-known shop in Las Vegas. The focus was always on the work, bringing life back to vehicles that others had given up on. Count's Customs grew into a full operation, but the motivation stayed the same. It wasn't about chasing attention. It was about the process and the results. Coker's background wasn't easy, and that shaped how he approached the business. The challenges he faced early on gave him a practical mindset, and that carried through in every project. Danny's story began in Cleveland, Ohio in 1964, but it was Detroit, the land of muscle cars, that raised him. His father worked for Ford and doubled as a gospel singer, balancing engines and music with equal grace. For young Danny, the garage was a playground, and the moment his father gifted him an old cruiser, his life took a new direction. While other children played with toys, he was drawn to real steel and the beauty of restoring it. That early spark set him on a lifelong path, even when others doubted he could make it. His vision was clear. Cars would not just move, they would become art. Danny Coker's TV career kicked off unexpectedly. He first appeared as Count Cool Rider, hosting a late-night horror show on a local Vegas station. It was a quirky gig, but it kept him close to what mattered: custom cars and motorcycles. Things shifted when Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars brought him on to talk restorations. That short segment turned into something bigger. In 2012, Counting Cars premiered on the History Channel, spotlighting Danny and the crew at Count's Customs. Over 10 seasons, the show followed their work, turning old vehicles into custom builds. When the spotlight grew harsher, and his personal world was shaken. Could he prove as resilient as the machines he restored? Hearts behind the chrome. But success did not erase the storms. In 2014, a lawsuit over unfinished work put his reputation at risk. And in 2017, controversy deepened when an employee's struggles with addiction drew Danny into the fallout. He even faced jail time, shocking fans who had seen him as a kind person. Yet, like the cars he rebuilt, Danny refused to stay broken. He embraced healing, worked on rebuilding himself, and found strength in the constant support of his wife, Corey. Through the highs and lows, Danny remained proof that passion, resilience, and love could keep even the most battered engine running. For Danny Coker, strength was never his alone. His wife, Corey, was the anchor who kept his world steady, sharing with him a love for rock music and vintage cars. Through every setback, she stood by his side, reminding him that behind every man who rebuilds himself stands someone who believes he can. Danny often speaks with gratitude about her support, acknowledging that their bond is what kept Count's Customs alive during the hardest times. His journey, filled with passion and pain, mirrored the transformations he performed on cars. Broken pieces turned into something stronger, something more meaningful. Danny's presence on screen was intense, but over time, attention shifted to what was happening off-camera. The public started to see the personal challenges and growth that shaped his journey beyond the show. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It reflected real changes, setbacks, and the effort to find balance. And while his fire drew the spotlight, wasn't it the quieter hands like Roly Scabbo's that gave the show its hidden heartbeat? Roly Scabbo and the heart of counting cars. Roly Scabbo handled the final stage of every build at Count's Customs. His job didn't get much attention, but it was critical. Each vehicle left the shop with a clean, polished finish that reflected his precision. He didn't make noise or seek credit. He just focused on the details. When he stepped away, it wasn't a big announcement. But things changed. His presence had been part of the workflow, and without it, the difference was noticeable. The shine, the finish, the final touch, that was his lane. Some people didn't get it. They saw him as the guy with the rag and the spray bottle, not realizing how much pride he took in every detail. By 2020, he wasn't showing up on screen as often. That got people talking. Maybe he moved on to something else. Maybe things behind the scenes shifted. No one really knew. But what stuck was the impact. His absence made it clear the small things aren't small. They're what make the whole thing work. Looking back at all these names, Mike, Scott, Kevin, Ryan, Shannon, Danny, and Roly, it becomes clear that counting cars was never only about metal and engines. It was about people, each bringing a piece of themselves into the shop. Some carried the weight in silence, others filled the room with laughter, and together they built more than machines. They built stories. That was the true magic of the show. It wasn't just about restorations. It was about the bonds forged through sweat, struggle, and a shared love for turning dreams into reality. Do you think the real story was ever about the cars at all? Or was it always about the lives and struggles woven into every build? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.